Hi everyone, and welcome to Lunch Hour Lessons with Allison. I'm Allison Mädl, and today is June 12th, 2019. Each week on Wednesdays at 12:30, I come to you live to bring you a topic related to nutrition and health that I think is interesting and give you a lesson to take with you into your daily life. If you like what you hear, feel free to comment or like this video. And as always, I post a transcript of each lesson on my blog at allisonmadel.com. This week's topic is vitamin D confusion. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about getting outside and breathing and earthing, and it was a really fun subject to talk about, mostly because it's so simple. Just go outside and breathe and it's all good. This week, the subject of vitamin D is almost the opposite in that it's not simple at all. There's so many conflicting messages about what is needed, how much is enough, how much is too much, can we supplement vitamin D in isolation, should we supplement at all? And the explanation can get a bit technical, so just stay with me here, and I'll share 3 conclusions that I've come to as I've listened to the various recommendations on the subject and read the research over the years. First and foremost, if you supplement with vitamin D, it should not be taken in isolation from the other fat-soluble vitamins, especially in supplement form. Increasing vitamin D levels without increasing vitamin A, E, or K, and especially A and K, that can really throw off an important balance within the body. Professional supplement lines are now recognizing this issue and offering vitamin D and K blends for this reason. So it's the good supplements, the really high quality brands, you're not really going to see much isolated D anymore. It'll probably have a little bit of vitamin K added to it to utilize actually to keep those levels even. Cod liver oil in particular has a really good balance of vitamins A and D, and especially for vitamin A also, besides cod liver oil, it's a good idea to eat foods like liver and egg yolks, especially on a regular basis, to keep vitamin A levels adequate. So there's cod liver oil, and then also I've mentioned emu oil a few times. That's really the best source of vitamin K, K2. And so cod liver oil and cod liver oil and emu oil would work together in a synergistic way to do things like manage inflammation in the body, support calcium utilization, enhance the immune system especially. And those 2 are probably the top 2 supplements, which are really foods that I would recommend. Second point about vitamin D. You need to get your levels checked with a blood test before you do any sort of targeted supplementation. Many times you'll have to request this test from your doctor as an isolated test, and not all insurance policies cover it. So you need to actually request it specifically. And I'm not really sure why, but it is important to know your level, because just as you want to ensure that it isn't too low, it's also not very good for it to be too high either. More is not better. And that said, there's still conflicting information about what the actual ideal range for vitamin D levels is in the first place. The US laboratory reference range for adequate vitamin D is 30 to 74 nanograms per milliliter, and some practitioners actually recommend levels as high as 80. But according to Chris Kresser, who's a well-respected clinician in the field of functional medicine, quote, a large body of evidence in the medical literature strongly suggests that optimal vitamin D levels might be lower than these figures, than that suggested range. And that increasing evidence suggests that levels of this magnitude may cause harm. So levels up to 80 may not be ideal. So based on this and data from other researchers, I do believe that the optimal vitamin D status range be between 35 and 50. If you're falling within that range, keep up your current diet and lifestyle. It's going really well. So that's 35 to 50. That's really the optimal range. We wouldn't want to be any higher than that. If your levels are lower, you likely do need some combination of UV exposure, cod liver oil, and a balanced vitamin D-K supplement. If you have an autoimmune disease, it's a little bit of a different situation. The range may be a bit higher, maybe up to 60, because vitamin D has so many immune regulating components. But that would just be sort of for a particular set of the population. But generally 35 to 50 is what you want to aim for. A third important point is, and kind of third and last, is to really use sunlight and UV exposure as your primary source of vitamin D production. You're going to not run the risk, probably unless you're a lifeguard out in the sun all day long, of running vitamin D toxicity. And the skin will make vitamin D when it's exposed to sunlight, as we know, but being in the sun also has other important and healthful properties. Things like if we are having responsible UVA and UVB exposure, that can regulate our circadian rhythms. It can produce important peptides and hormones in our skin that actually then go into our body. And it also increases the release of nitric oxide from storage. Nitric oxide is getting a lot of press lately in the health blogs and research, and it actually dilates blood vessels and thus reduces blood pressure. So I do have that caveat of saying responsible sun exposure, because it's really important that while in the sunlight that you don't allow your skin to burn if it's susceptible to doing so. Instead, it's important to increase your sun exposure naturally and sun tolerance naturally by building a tan. So by maximum benefit, you want to start slow, and that would be to expose as much of your skin as possible to the sun in the middle of the day, so right in that high sun window, but only for about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on your skin tone. That's the starting point. And those with darker complexions can and should stay out longer to maximize the vitamin D production. As you eventually build up a tan, you can increase your exposure time. And it's kind of like supplementation in itself. It's relaxing and it's doing lots of benefits for your body, but it's actually, you're almost dosing yourself. So you don't want to overexpose. Obviously, if you're going to be in the sun all day, it's important to use sun protective clothing and hats. I don't recommend the use of sunscreen, as I've really not found one that, even a natural kind, that I'm comfortable putting on my own skin on a regular basis. So let me know if you want to learn more information about that particular subject, sunscreen. So that's the time we have for today. Feel free to tell a friend this week's lunch hour lesson, which is don't supplement without knowing what you need. Again, don't supplement without knowing what you need. Like my page to get the weekend tip that comes out on Saturday. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.